everybody. We're down to day 3 now. Day 3 out of 7, discussing issues related to mental health, anxiety, stress, fear, all that kind of thing. And just to remind you, I'm not addressing the most serious issues. I'm specifically talking about the average struggle that each person goes through. And I'm trying to address this in the way that if you came to me as a pastor and you asked me how you could handle these kinds of things, this is the advice that I would give and in fact have given in the past. And we began by me telling my story, and then yesterday we talked about making sure that you are not labeling yourself when there's in fact no label to be given, and certainly not making a fashion statement out of mental health of whatever stripe. And so today, now that we've kind of moved past those introductory matters, let's say legitimately you are struggling with anxiety, stress, fear, depression, even in verging into suicidal thoughts and some other more destructive things. And you come to me and you ask me, how do I handle this? Well, certainly I believe that the gospel is sufficient to handle that, and there are some very important emotional and spiritual conversations we're going to have. But here's what I've learned. I'm going to give you some very practical ways to handle this, because I have found that very often the reason our minds are not right is because the rest of our lives is out of sync. Our body is not right, especially, and even our social life is out of sync. And I have found and seen happen several times that when you get these things right, the rest of it starts to fall into place. And the things that are stressing you out might not go away, but your ability to handle them has improved. So if you're wondering, how do I deal with my whatever it is, these are the first steps I'm going to give you. And I'm going to give you 5 things that you can try to make right first, and then we can see where we stand. And in fact, you might very well find that things have actually gotten better and you don't need to go on past this point. So I'm going to give these to you. Starting number 1, are you getting enough sleep? Oh, I told you, real practical, right? And this might even seem insulting to you, right? What do you mean enough sleep? I'm having mental problems. Yes, but here's the thing. If you are not getting enough sleep, you're straining your mind, you're straining your body, and the longer you go without getting adequate sleep, the more difficult it is for your brain and for your body to do what it needs to do. If you're staying up, I'm talking like 2, 3 in the morning, and you're having to get up around 7 or 8, or even if your just sleep is all off and maybe it's just inverse of what everybody else usually does, that can lead to stress, anxiety, depression, all that kind of stuff, because your body needs more than that. And when I say that, usually what I hear from people is, well, I don't get enough sleep because I'm so anxious or so stressed out. That may be true, but it is much easier for you to control when you go to bed and how you go to bed than it is for you to control your mental state. And you'll find that if you can get this right, the rest will fall into place. So get an adequate amount of sleep, everybody. 7, 8 hours a day. And in fact, take naps if you're not getting enough sleep when you have the time to do that. Take a nap. Get the right amount of sleep so that you wake up feeling refreshed. If you're waking up feeling tired, examine the way that you're going to sleep. What time are you going to bed? Right? If you're going to bed and you know maximum you're going to get 5 hours of sleep, my friend, this is not sufficient, and it's going to be hard on you. Or are you getting in bed but then you spend the next 2 hours on your phone, or you spend the next 2 hours reading, or whatever it is? Like, you've got to make sure you're getting an adequate amount of sleep, and that very often will start to correct some things. So number 2, related to that, what kind of exercise are you getting? And this is another interesting one that people kind of will roll their eyes at when I tell them, like, are you exercising? Are you going outside? And I've heard this response an awful lot. I'm not really a fitness guy. I'm not really into that kind of thing. You know, I like to stay home. I like to play video games. I like to read. I like to do things in the yard. I'm not really an exercise person. I'm not talking about becoming a fitness nut. What I'm talking about is making sure you are using your body every day. If you're not getting out, and I could tie this to getting outside. If you're not getting out and moving and experiencing the sun on your skin and breathing air that hasn't been reprocessed, there's something about exercise that is good for you. I'm not saying you got to go run a marathon or even start bench pressing anything. Are you getting outside at least a couple times a week and walking around? Are you going, just go on a fun hike if that's something that you're into? It doesn't have to be, killer, just something that gets you outside and gets you moving. And I know being inside and not getting the sun on your skin, it depletes the vitamins and things that you need. And I'm not a medical expert. I just know enough about it to give you this advice. And I found that when people just start, I started going out for a walk every night, and I went out every now and then, and it feels good to get outside, and y'all know to breathe in that air, and like, oh man, this is This is good. I've missed this. And if all you're doing is staying still like this, or you're hunched over your keyboard, or you're laying down, like your body is not doing what it's meant to do. That's not how God made you to be. So get out there and move your body. When's the last time you jumped on something, right? When's the last time you ran as fast as you could? When's the last time you climbed a tree? I don't know, right? Get out and move. All right, this is not a fitness push. This is just related to your mental health. Are you exercising? Number 3, related to that, how are you eating? It's starting to get personal, Tyler. Oh, maybe it is, right? What are you eating? I'm not talking again about being a fitness nut. In fact, some people who are fitness nuts and spend all their time eating these very restrictive diets can fall into this category too. So this is not related to being unhealthy, junk food, that kind of thing. Although I do want to address that. First of all, I want to say that gluttony is a sin, according to the Bible. If you're spending all your time stuffing your face with food, that's wrong. It's not cute, it's not funny, it's wrong for you to do that, all right? But let's just take this time. If all you're doing is eating salt and sugar and fat and all that, then you're not going to feel good in your body. You're not going to process these things right, and your mind is going to start to get upset. Contrast that, if you're not eating enough, if you're only eating, whole oats and whole, lettuce and that, and you're never getting enough to get everything you need, you've seen this. People will get weak, they'll get tired, they're not able to recover properly. Y'all, we need to eat normally. Now, I'm just calling you to eat normally. If you're eating too much, cut it out. If you're not eating enough, you need to pick that up. And if you're eating unhealthy stuff all the time, it's all chips, it's all soda, stop that. I have seen that alone cause people to get right in their minds, because now you're getting everything the body needs, and your mind is inextricably tied to your body. So don't think you can fix the mind and neglect the body, or vice versa, by the way. But what are you eating? Make sure you're eating the right things. Eat some vegetables every once in a while, and say no to things, right? Set limits on yourself. All right? Number 4, this is a very modern and unique one. How much time are you spending on social media? Now let's expand that out beyond social media. Just on the internet, in front of the TV screen, in front of the computer screen, on your phone in general. And I do recognize the irony of putting this on a video that's going to go on YouTube. But you all know as well as I do that obsession with that stuff is not good for you, right? If all you're spending your time doing is finding out what other people think about you and finding out what's going on in this part of the world and this thing that makes you angry, and you're just filling it up with this kind of stuff, your brain is going crazy and you won't be able to settle down and sleep. And your mind is all active. It's never getting a break. It's always firing. And this can extend to games on your phone, those little things that keep the dopamine flowing. This can extend to texting your friends. If you're say, well, I don't get enough sleep, but you go to sleep and the last thing you do before to go to bed is text your friends about all the terrible things going on for like 3 hours, and now you're going to try to get good sleep. You've got to monitor that. And this is not, this is not an old person thing speaking to young people. This is me as, 30 years old and growing up with all this stuff. I know that when I'm the most obsessed with TV, when I binge the most TV shows, when I spend the most time tracking politics online, when I spend the most time talking to people online, that my brain just doesn't work right. Your brain is not designed to fire that way. You've got to take some time to put it down, turn it off, and just be in the real world for a minute. Because so much of that is so overblown, and I'm not going to go off on a whole thing there, but it puts your mind to the farthest extremity and keeps it there, rather than pulling it back and giving yourself a chance to rest. So listen, if you spend all your time on Twitch, on Xbox and PlayStation, you spend all your time on Instagram or TikTok or Twitter or whatever it is, take a break. And take more of a break than you think you need to. And it doesn't matter if it's good stuff, right? Well, I just watch Bible studies online all day long. Stop that. Go live in the real world with real people. Look at things that are not on a screen. That light that comes from those screens can be harmful and damaging to your eyes and your sleep patterns. Take a break. And this ties very closely to number 5. What kind of interactions and input are you having with people? Are the only things you ever talk about miserable things? You've got friends where your entire relationship revolves around talking about your problems. Maybe you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend that all she ever wants to talk about is how awful everything is. Or you watch a TV show where all that the host ever wants to talk about is how awful things are. Or maybe, whatever it is. Whatever it is, the only books you're reading are things that are depressing or horrifying or whatever it is. You've got to be able to take those things in moderation. So often, your life itself is fine. But the stuff you spend time thinking about that might not even have anything to do with you is so stressful and depressing that you're stressed out even though you have no real reason to be. So these are some very practical things, you guys. And before we get into any of the how to handle your thought process and how to handle stress and that, start here. Start number one by getting good sleep. Try it. I mean, I'm just saying try it for like 2 weeks. Try getting good hours, 8 hours of sleep. You wake up before 8 hours, go back to sleep and finish. Nothing feels better than that, right? Going back to sleep. Get some good sleep. Go outside and exercise. I'm not saying you got to go out and enter some sort of competition. Just go out and sweat and be under the sun for a little bit. Feel the wind on your face, all right? 2 weeks, try it. Number 3, eat better. Now, I'm not saying you got to go and follow some crazy diet. Just eat better. Less chips, less sugar, less candy, more protein if you're just into some crazy, extreme diet. Just eat right for 2 weeks. Just try it. Get off of whatever track you're on and try it better. Number 4, take a break from social media. I don't care if you cut off this channel too. Take a break from the internet, the TV, fast for a while. And most of us, we spend many, many hours a day on these things. So cutting it back is easy business. Take a break and spend some time again in the real world. And number 5, commit to having positive conversations. And by that I mean, if you spend all your time watching Fox News, CNN, and you get hyped up every single night, stop it. Just take a break. The political cycle will continue without you, I promise. Or if you've got friends that all they want to talk about is miserable things, just say, hey guys, for 2 weeks, we're only talking about happy things. Well, that's just ignoring reality. No, it's not. It's choosing to focus on what's good rather than what you've been doing, which is focusing on what's negative. And that includes curating your TV shows, your music, the books you read, all of that kind of stuff, you guys. Try that for 2 weeks and tell me if you don't feel better. I'll tell you, I've had people that I've had this conversation with, and some of them get mad at me because they feel like I'm not taking their situation seriously enough. But I'll tell you what, at the very least, you're going to feel better. At the very least, you're going to be better equipped to handle this stuff. And the ones I know who have tried this, I remember one instance in particular, I told her, try these things and come back in a week and tell me how you feel. And she came back and said, you know what? I feel better. I don't need to deal with this stuff anymore. And she went on to be fine because she had so many bad habits that were contributing to this constant stress in her mind that when she was able to relieve the pressure, she was able to see, number one, some of these things are not as big a deal as they think they are. And number 2, if I don't keep bringing myself right up to the edge and stay in there, I'm actually okay. So I'm confident that this will work for y'all too. It works for me. I have to do this every so often and make sure I've got it right. But guys, just take the time to take care of yourself. These are some practical steps. We'll get into some more of the other things later, but I promise it will help at the very least. God bless you.